We are back for another fun-filled episode with David Bishop and Mark Fairhurst as we recount the ups and downs, more recently ups, in eGrocery online sales. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm good. We're into September 2024, and that means we're talking about August eGrocery sales numbers. As close as we can get to real-time analysis.
Third straight month of a strong single-digit gains for eGrocery overall, and continue to be driven by delivery, which is being fueled by aggressive discounting on subscriptions to lock in customers for the next year. So I think that's the headline, Mark.
And that discount. So remind us again, where's that discounting happening? Who's doing the discounting?
Yeah, so Walmart is continuing to offer a 50% off its annual membership. That's available to customers, employees, and eligible Spark drivers. So we have that. And then most notably beyond Walmart would be Instacart, which had offered an 80% discount on its annual program, although it's not running that campaign as frequently or as long is what Walmart's been doing.
And what about Amazon and Target?
Yeah, so Target really hasn't had much promotional activity around its Ship subscription or its Circle membership program. When you look at Amazon did have a deep discount on Prime membership right around Prime Days as a way to offer free grocery delivery with their $9.99 monthly subscription. I think Amazon's focus is more on basics today with the private label, with the in-store Gen 2.0, if you will, with the restart of their expansion or remodeling program. So, we're seeing that, but you could look at, DoorDash now is really promoting free delivery through Dash Pass. We've entered a time effectively where the messaging that providers or retailers who are pursuing this approach are really touting free delivery, even though there is a cost to subscribe or become a member.
So let's get into this notion of free delivery. So I was speaking with a retailer a couple of days ago and discussing how Walmart's consistent push into that market in which he's operating. And even his household is now utilizing the free delivery for a lot of center aisle product. How is it that these organizations, how is it that these retail giants, and I think I know what the answer is, can continue to sustain the discounting? Is it that they're leveraging other parts of their business? Is it that they have put in strategic plays that are helping them offset the cost to serve? Or is it all of the above?
It's likely all the above. Let's just focus on Walmart to simplify the conversation. First and foremost, Walmart is continuing to grow at a very impressive rate its retail media programs, high margin, high growth. Now that is separate from e-commerce or omni-channel. However, any retailer knows that when you invest in price, and these deals are a form of that generally internally you're looking for offsets. We got to find efficiencies that can offset that investment. In this case, the offset could be in totality or in part the retail media dollars. So another aspect of it for Walmart, again, is that the offer will help secure or convert more of their customers to members, and those members then would be motivated to make more trips or transactions with Walmart. That is going to help create other efficiencies relative to scale in terms of volume or orders that can help them drive costs down through their assembly process or even their distribution process by building density in those aspects of the workflow. So, when you look at what Walmart's doing, it is very powerful because they have, both of those things, from the retail media monies to the in-store or labor efficiencies that they're driving that are proving to be quite powerful and able to sustain for an indefinite period without really just tapping into, the cash on the balance sheet.
No, I know we've talked in the past about how Walmart really defined curbside out of the gate and providing or tapping into the value and convenience factor by offering free curbside. Is it fair to say that they're taking that approach and redefining what delivery convenience means for their customers and other grocery customers?
Delivery, even more so than pickup, from the value proposition standpoint, is about convenience because it saves you the time of driving to and from the store. Whereas pickup, you still have that. Pickup then had tended to also have higher emphasis placed on cost considerations because the service would generally cost less to use if we're talking about regionals. But in the case of most mass merchants like Walmart, delivery for all intents and purposes is free. Now, when they introduced this subscription and specifically the deep discount on the subscription, we're seeing them include aspects of cost savings that will really benefit the delivery segment more than the pickup segment. So now we have that 1-2 punch of cost and convenience, flowing in the right direction that removes one of the largest barriers for usage of delivery services, which are those explicit avoidable fees. And up until now, there have been a subset of customers who've done just that. They've avoided using delivery because of their concerns about the added cost. And beyond the delivery fee, there still could be a gratuity, and Walmart offers that opportunity to add, although I think its default is 0. And there could be other charges, but Walmart is known for not having those other charges because it aligns with their overall pricing strategy.
I don't think it's a coincidence, though, at the same time as we're seeing the acceleration of delivery promotions, that you now have the third parties like Instacart and DoorDash that you had mentioned earlier, offering discounts on not only their membership, but also in terms of delivery fees. And I think Instacart just came out with eliminating an $8 delivery fee for next day delivery orders. Is this in response to Walmart? Or how is this playing into what the regionals are looking for as a means to compete? And do you think this is going to embed Instacart and DoorDash further within the regional grocery ecosystems?
I don't know whether Walmart's actions prompted this response from Instacart or not. But what I would say is a tip of the hat to Instacart for pursuing a tactic, albeit a tactic that we were recommending for first-party regionals who had delivery, in giving the customer more control over the decision as to when do I want my order and how much am I willing to get that order at that point. So the economics work a little different for third-party versus first-party by using that tactic. But I think, it just demonstrates the length to which, Instacart in particular is trying to defend their base business. Their customers know that it's costs more to shop online. And let's keep in mind that, on the third party in particular, on the marketplaces, we're looking at product markups that are 10+%, which is in addition to and separate from all those explicit and again, avoidable fees. And in the case of the third party, this is where you have more below the line charges, whether it's a service charge, a heavy item fee, alcohol, a fee, long distance fee, you name it. It just keeps rolling up. So Instacart needs to work very diligently in bringing down those explicit costs. They too, like Walmart, have an incredibly large pool of retail media monies that can help offset the investment in those reductions. I think it's just, again, a symptom of the time that we had said before we were going to be moving or shifting into a phase where, subscriptions were going to become an important element of retention and in driving, growth in the near term. And so we're just seeing different permutations of how these strategies playing out. And Instacart, again, has been doing some things that may help, slow the defections to lower cost channels.
Let's talk about the lower cost channels. What can you say about chains like Family Dollar, Dollar General? We know there's been some struggles of late in terms of their sales. What are you picking up on?
Dollar General has been notoriously a very strong competitor against Walmart in those rural outlying communities where they have acted as the convenient grocery store for many lower income households. And many of those households don't have a vehicle, which is why they tend to shop at Dollar General versus jumping on the public bus and taking a trip out to the big Walmart supercenter and then taking the bus back. But I think what Dollar General basically is illustrating is the pressure that the lower income households are under. This is nothing new for us. We've been talking about this for a while. I just think it's the latest example of that. Dollar General has been over the years really moving into grocery as they expanded with perishables, frozen, and refrigerated, much like what Target did a few years back. So I think, what you see there is no different than what you're now seeing as the result of this pressure with folks like Amazon introducing lower opening price points as a way to offer, one more option for those cash-strapped consumers who just are trying to stretch that buck.
Let's talk about that, because one of the key points that you bring up in this month's report is that the likelihood for more frequent customers to reuse the surface in the next 30 days has dropped dramatically in August 24. What are some of the causal factors for this?
Cost is going to be one. Now, I should add, we don't look at that metric, although we could, by income level. So what I'm saying are some generalities there or some hypotheses, since we haven't analyzed it this way. But one is obviously the cost consideration. That is whether it's the cost to use the service and all those explicit fees we talked about, or it's the cumulative effect of shopping online, whether they know that the products are marked up or not. And that, again, is dependent on who we're buying from and how we're doing that. Obviously would be the first and most likely. The second is that the experience is still not deemed an acceptable alternative to shopping in the store. We're seeing examples of out of stocks that are perplexing customers, and Amazon Fresh is struggling with that in some regards due to some changes in their in-store organizational practices in terms of how they handle inbound freight and stock that. Those would be the two likely issues, Mark. And again, there could be many others relative to the timeliness of the delivery, the quality of those products. But, at the heart of it, if the promise or the value relies around convenience, one aspect of convenience is getting the products you want. And if you're not getting those products, the rest doesn't really matter.
Where do you see the next 3 months unfolding based on the trends? Do you see the promotion for around subscription continuing?
Yeah. So if you remember, we talked about the summer doldrums, and what we anticipated and we saw it was that we were going to stay below a certain level through July, which we did, and then we popped through that $8 billion mark, really kind of blew through it in August as we went into the back to school period. What we hadn't anticipated for the last 3 months was the effect that those subscription promotions would have on the overall business. I mean, we've estimated that the net incremental impact on eGrocery in general is probably 2 percentage points, which is pretty incredible given that the deals are focused on delivery. But we're seeing a net incremental impact on delivery that's 10 times that. It changed the direction of that delivery was headed, and it's accelerated or re-accelerated delivery. So at this point, looking forward, our expectation for September, October, November would be likely a continuation of this 3-month uptrend that we saw versus the period beforehand. That would be promising overall for the business. Now, that's not going to be proportionally divided amongst all those retailers. So we would anticipate Walmart will continue to gain more than its fair share. I think Instacart's loss is probably slow or stemmed, but that again gets spread over a much larger base. But overall, we would anticipate delivery continuing to have stronger performance than what we were expecting before, largely because of these programs that have now essentially locked in more customers to particular providers or retailers. And it's motivating those customers, once they're engaged, to use it as much as they can, because the more they use it, the more they save.
It's surprising. One chart in the report, we're at the highest in aggregate online monthly sales number going back to May 2020, which was...
Oh, yeah, very good. That's actually, the May 2020 is not in the report, but you obviously went back and did your homework, because that is correct.
And that's surprising. Correct. That's you would think that's the height of the pandemic fueled online sales, and it's incredible the accelerant that these promotions have added.
Like you mentioned earlier about a retailer colleague you talked about whose house was starting to use Walmart's delivery, you can see how hard it is to avoid it. And once you get engaged with it, it's very compelling. We don't have the Walmart Plus. We're not typically a Walmart household. We would have been tending to prefer Target, although I have been going to Target or Walmart more recently for a variety of reasons. When you get that Plus and you say, hey, I'll just pick off all my center store stuff, gosh, that can save you a significant amount of money. But again, where the regionals really have to reinforce, and I think we've seen this in other research from associations or other consulting firms, which is, we really need to invest in those perimeter departments. I mean, we've said it before. Investing and growing in produce in particular is really important for most regionals, as well as some of the select other service departments that you have, depending on where you are and its role. It's going to be very difficult outside of offering private label as a draw to really defend the center store in any meaningful way if someone does get engaged with Walmart Plus.
Yeah, and and you're right. We have talked about that in the past, and I think we're coming back to the same refrain. It's your fresh and the fresh convenience factor of your perimeter sales that regionals really should be focusing in on. But at the same time, it's higher margin, but could also be higher cost to serve. So there's multiple factors in terms of what regionals have to counter. So David, I appreciate your time as always. I encourage our audience to reach out to you, to me, if they have questions, and we'll talk next month.